Thank you. Right.
Hey everyone, welcome to Live on a Friday. It's been a couple of weeks. You've been away.
I have.
You have been
Been
away.
doing triathlon again
Mm-hmm.
and loving it. Had a good race actually. I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm back.
you are back.
Finally.
So you going back to the Philippines anytime soon?
Oh, the sun. Philippines, AKA the face of the sun. Seriously, it is as hot as the hobs of hell. Butchies, bro. A twin butcher.
It is. It is.
So the answer to that is no.
Mr. Wayne.
Not going back to the Philippines.
No, you're not going back to the Philippines. But you were more prepared this time.
I'm going to Bali instead. I'm doing a coaching clinic in Bali.
I'll show you.
Seriously.
Just going for a holiday.
November. No. It's a coaching clinic with this new coach.
Oh, that's so funny.
My old mate with a green mohawk.
It's going to be hot in Bali. When did you say?
November.
Oh my God. It'll be hot in Bali in November.
Leah, Mick. Hey, Mick Thompson.
Leah.
How are we all, team? Overall going good. So what's going on in
Flying
Glado?
blind a bit today.
No, we're in control.
We are.
Gladstone, what's going on in Glado this weekend?
The Out of the Shadows walk was last week. I heard it was very
Out of the
successful.
Shadows.
That's the one I told you about.
Oh, I thought you told me about the man walk.
No, this one's the one to remember people who have died from suicide, and that was the one at East Shores.
There's one tonight at East Shores that I'm going
to. That's
the
man walk. Yeah, no, that'll be good as well.
Do you want to come?
I would love to. I have a lot of things on this afternoon.
Cool.
I'm catching up with my son.
Oh, little Brandon. How is he?
He's doing really well, actually. He's actually had to put a bit of weight on because he lost too much weight. So.
Shit. That'd be a good problem to have.
No. He was feeling a bit lacking a bit of energy, so he's... Yes, he is.
Is he back in action?
He is. He's pumped up, full of energy, and...
Pumped up.
Yes, he's feeling a lot better, so...
That's good.
I don't know, what's on this weekend?
Well, man walk this afternoon. So I went to John Whitman last night.
Yes, my mate John from Independent Home Loan.
Yeah, Safe Talk. Luke Grice, how are you, bro? So we went and learnt so much. Brent and Julie Mindberg. We went and learnt, me and Dane Linford. Do you know Dane?
I do, yes.
He's a lovely man. We went and learned about suicide. And how to have suicide conversations. Do you know there's such a thing as Safe Talk? And of course I wrote.
Lots of notes.
That's how much notes I wrote.
That's great.
Did you know it's like you should be trained before you have this conversation, but it's okay to ask someone if they're down, are you thinking about suicide?
Yeah, no, I have been told. I think John and I talked about that. John and I were talking about that.
We learned how to do that last night and actually have that conversation.
How great is that?
To actually say you're thinking about suicide. Like, that's a tough thing to ask someone.
Yeah,
right?
It certainly is. And it's Suicide Prevention Week, because
Is that what
yesterday
it
was
is?
Are You OK Day? Hey, Nancy. So I think, so this is, and we did do a very big live on this last year.
Yeah, we did.
So
men's mental health, I think we did too.
We
have a bit of a gym
those.
junkie behind us. Have a look at the size of our background.
Yeah, look.
He's a buffer. He's
They're just
large.
sitting there completely oblivious to the fact that they're live on Facebook.
No, great. Look at his muscles too. Go the boy.
He is. He's actually doing that.
He's flexing them
Flex
up a bit. Go the boy.
He's sitting there with the lady.
So
that would have been really great. I've heard John's very good at that.
Well, he lost a brother. The brother to suicide.
Very
challenging. Going to walk some stairs at the gym in memory of police and firefighters who climbed the Twin Towers.
Good on you, Wayne. That's
good
a great
on
thing.
Butchie.
That is great.
Bro. Isn't that great?
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, I can't believe it's such a long time since.
Are you doing it in your police clothes, Butchie?
Oh, that's a good question.
I've seen some people in online doing it in like their firefighting clothes.
I watched a couple of specials on SBS this week about it, and some really personalised stories of people who actually made it out. And
Jules reckons it's a
footage
conspiracy theory.
A lot of people do.
I don't reckon.
There was another show recently, a couple of weeks ago, about when the plane that flew into the Pentagon at the same time, and
that's conspiracy theory as well.
It was very, very interesting. Flat out doing it. Oh, in your gym gear. Good on you, Wayne. Get some spandex.
That's right.
Latex.
Lycra. Mammal, man. Mammal. Middle-aged man in lycra. Butchie, g'day, how are you?
Hey, Mandy. Yes. That's my old neighbour, Mandy Green.
Mandy Green, very
She
good.
works at Direct spray ones.
And Sunita, hello, girl. Thanks for joining us.
Sunita,
Oh no, here's our little. Can I call you a hippie chick, Sunita? Is that okay? And that's done with love because I just love your barefoot photos and out in the bush there and singing. And she's just such
be
an
nice
amazing.
to be. Oh, speak of the devil.
Small's on.
Get our message, Brian.
Brian Small just sent us a message to say that if we need some public speaking training, come to one of his inductions at QAL. And you might even get that with my public speaking competition, you reckon?
And what are your wins? The day with him, he said.
Yeah, you win an induction session with him, which is funny.
Which we said we would take him on.
And Ian Powell, he's the guy I was just talking to a second ago.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
bro, how are you, man? And he's asking about team development and how we develop teams. Absolutely, mate. Oh, good on you.
Good on you, Sunita.
Love your work, girl.
So we've been doing some work today about talking about public speaking and...
Are we allowed to tell everyone your news?
No.
Become a public speaker?
Well, I just want to get better at my presentations
is.
and public speaking because I do a bit of that, and I thought if anyone can help me get a bit more clear and concise with it, it was this man here.
I hope so.
From the Guinea group. And we know how to fill an hour of talking and training in, so...
I know.
Very helpful.
We had a great
Great.
Start session. Right?
Yeah, we did. We did have a great start session.
So, and thanks for coming on board as a client. So Ros is one of the people
You are
that's
most welcome.
coming to our workshop in the sunny coast in October. And if you're not in the competition, get in it. We're at 4 or we're going to be at 5 on Monday. That's huge, man.
And you know what? I think it's not. I think it's not. It's not. It's important to let everyone know. It's not just for people who want to get up and stand up in front of a crowd. It's just to be able to build your confidence and actually feel more secure, even having just face-to-face conversations or not being shy. And I actually talked to a young fella today. Came into my office. And he said, "Oh, my girlfriend's in the car, but she wanted to meet you, but she's too shy." And I thought, "What?" I actually went out and met her, but I thought it's so interesting to me when I've developed the skills over the years to be able to walk up to anyone and have a it's just like, "Oh, do you know what you're missing out on by not opening up and being able to talk to people and
share connection with other human beings?"
Yeah, I think it's really such a great feeling when you can start
you can do it,
opening up and talking to people.
Oh, and
having confidence in what you're saying.
And why is it a great feeling? Talk me through the feeling. What is it about having a conversation that sort of does that for you, that creates a feeling?
Well, I think it's about, always being able to have a conversation with anyone. If you know the right questions to ask and if you listen and you're hearing what people are saying, they're actually giving you what they're saying. Your response to what they're saying makes the conversation flow really well, and you can actually learn some amazing things about people.
We just talked about you.
John, we were just talking about you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
You can learn amazing things about people if you're willing to. Where I'm going with that is let's talk emotionally for a sec. So, how does it feel when you actually talk to someone and they open up to you and you build that rapport and you build that authentic connection with another human being and you go, holy shit, I'm really into this.
And you know what? It's so important in your personal relationships and business because, I remember back to when I first started selling real estate and you're really nervous about what questions to prompt people with at an open home, for example. And now it just flows out of my mouth, So are you looking for somewhere to live or an investment property? And then they'll say, oh, no, we're looking for somewhere to live. And is this the type of property that you're looking at? So you just keep these prompting questions coming and then you're listening to what they're saying and hearing them. But even, I was selling roses the other day to raise money for a sick little boy and, I walked up to these gentlemen and one of them said, I know you from somewhere. I said, oh, you might have seen my face around. I sell real estate. And then he started this, conversation with, I've had my book on the land for ages and So we started talking about, and I just asked him a few questions, and what's been done so far to market it, and how much interest have you had, and then he kept sort of coming back with, it's been on for 3 years,
with the wrong
and
answers.
Yeah, but at least if I'd have just said, I sell real estate, see you later, then we wouldn't have had that conversation, and I wouldn't have got he decided to list the block with me. But even just general meeting people, you find out I can stand at a bus stop or be like when I was in hospital having my surgery, just to have conversations with the nurses and get to know people, and it's amazing and elderly people. I loved it when I worked in the nursing home.
Meeting elderly people.
Old people have so many years of stories.
So many stories, and there's been a great book written, The 5 Death Wishes of the Dying.
Oh wow!
From an aged care nurse in hospice. Is that the right?
Yeah.
Hospice?
So palliative care.
Palliative care.
Yeah.
Imagine talking to people that are dying on their deathbed. Imagine what they'd tell you about their life. And she's turned it into 5 things. And it's quite an amazing book. And
I've heard about it before.
Yeah. And actually,
is it 5 biggest regrets or 5?
Oh, the 5 regrets
like
of the dying,
or
something like that. Right. I won't try here. We're podcasting. But I think fear holds us back.
I will have a look for you.
Thank you. With emotions, right? We've got these really positive emotions that we experience when we have these great connections and conversations. Guess what, team? The opposite is also true. That you have a shitty time. Excuse the language. If you don't have these connections, like when you've got authentic, when you've got authentic connection and
there it is.
And care factor.
5 regrets of the dying.
5 regrets of the dying. That's what it was. Who was the author? She's a good Aussie girl too. Aussie nurse.
Bronnie Ware.
Bronnie Ware. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Is that it? Where?
Yeah, Bronnie Ware. And so. Murray's coming to our public speaking workshop. Tennille Bruton's my beautiful little niece. Anne Webster, John Whitten. Got to go, guys. Getting ready to go to the pub, as you should, man.
Well, you go and enjoy your Friday afternoon, John, at the pub. That sounds awesome.
Team looking sharp. We're feeling sharp.
Hey, Murray's coming to.
He is.
Murray's coming to our thing.
And see, that's the thing about it. So here's the 5. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not to the life of others expected of me. That's interesting.
Not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard.
I wish I had the courage to express my feelings.
There you go.
This is what
what we were just saying about speaking.
What I'm saying to you now is that let's speak more in emotions. Let's say, how do we feel? How does this make us feel?
Yeah.
Because the more we can do that, the more we are vulnerable, the more we open up to people.
I think the more we connect as well.
And connect.
Yeah, because you're talking about,
deeper stuff.
Yeah.
Real stuff, right?
It's not shallow.
That's right.
BS stuff.
I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. That's
and I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends.
So true. And then the last one was, I wish I'd let myself be happier.
I wish I'd let myself be happier. That's interesting.
Chosen to be happy. Pete, thanks for coming on, bro. Pete is the best triathlon race caller on this planet.
Hey,
One
Pete.
of 3 people that calls Kona race.
His profile picture's thumbs up.
G'day from China, bro. Have you got Facebook over there? I didn't know you could have. Kim Fraser.
I've got relatives from Brisbane visiting China at the moment.
My
auntie and uncle that I stayed with at Bribey Island.
Cool, so they're in China.
They're in China with their son and daughter-in-law and their grandkids.
Right.
They just left, actually.
So even someone like Pete, who's on a microphone, I'm here to tell you, this bloke changes lives. So to come across the finish line like I did on Sunday and to get called out.
And you've explained the feeling of that. So it's a big deal, isn't it?
It's a massive deal.
It's a really big deal, that feeling. And Pete would be...
Nudgy.
Pete would be partly responsible for because if you just went, here comes Anton Guinea.
You've got to say it with purpose and passion and care factor.
Yeah.
He always, because he knows me, he'll throw something in too. Come on, turn it up, man. You're the bomb. You're an absolute champion and you change lives, bro, just by being on a microphone. And that's the power of our voice. It's the power of our...
And the expression of how we say it. It's the expression of how we say it. And it's the same as if, you were talking before about, what were you saying that sometimes people
Best job in the world you have, bro. I'm jealous,
when someone
man.
responds, but they're not
One
actually.
day I want to do that with you.
You don't actually listen. You know, we were talking about "Are you okay?" or something, and how are you? You know, you say, "Oh, how are you?" Good, thanks. Good, thanks. Good, thanks. Everyone says, but the conversation is usually just
Here's how to follow that up. How are you really?
yes, and see that's what
And let's
listening and breaking it down is.
Let's silence, do the heavy lifting. So how are you really? People feel them because the universe fills a hole. So if you hold that space, and that's part of communication is being silent, people will tell you how they're really feeling.
And I think rewording that question, how are you? If someone's not being themselves in the office, or a friend that you notice is behaving differently, if you reword that question to say, "Are you having a bad day?" or "Is there something I can do for you?" or "You don't seem like yourself," or something like that to make you. And that's where that conversation, when we were talking about speaking with influence, I suppose, is actually having a continuing conversation with words and responses that will help people actually really open up about what they're trying to say or how they're feeling.
Share their feelings.
Yeah, which is why the training you did with John would have been
so important,
really eye-opening.
I actually came up with a definition for listening finally last night. Listening, and I don't do it so well when you and I are together because we just keep going nuts. Listening is when you are not talking when they are not talking. So you're in silence at times. Now, where you were going with that, Donna Ellis, Nudgy Boy, Mark West, and Dom Kennedy.
Kim and Donna.
Dom's dad was the vice principal.
And Gavin.
Donna. Oh, sad. Gav lost his mum this week, so sad.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Gav.
Listen to understand, not to respond. And listen to understand, not to be understood. There you go. Because too many times we sort of think communication is like my turn. You have a go. I'm going to get offended if I don't have a go. So, you're sitting there ready to go.
Yeah.
And you actually haven't listened. You're just waiting.
Yeah.
For a turn.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
No.
We actually want to take them out.
Very hard when you're in an exciting conversation and you're just dying to say something.
Like this.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is, we're having fun.
It takes practice, though. That takes a lot of practice. I'm not great at that at all. My mind goes faster and you sort of,
And I think it doesn't, I don't know about practice. I think it takes discipline.
It does take discipline.
You've got to want to do that. And, the want is the care factor. It's because you want to connect with other human beings. You've got to want to get to know other people.
And I think it's about, a lot of times it's about trying to find out what their needs are. What do they need from you? What response do they need from you? What
support?
What and if you don't let someone open up enough to tell you, if it's a shallow conversation and you're just sort of brushing the surface, a lot of times you can't find out what their expectations are, and that's where people with depression quite often, or most of the time, it's a big shock to everyone if somebody commits suicide, for example, because everyone says, "But I didn't know, or I didn't." And you wonder with any conversation that you're having, as far as actually really listening to what someone's saying, and if they're brushing things aside or just giving short, sharp answers, are they actually, like you said, how do you really feel?
Yeah, that's
dig a bit deeper.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to dig a bit deeper. It's got to be done with the right intent, though. Do you know what I mean? Hey, John Kane, how are you, man? Bleed for Brent. I'm still going to go up and give some blood for young Brent who died out of the in one of Brené Brown's books, she talks about dare to lead, and she says if you can presume positive intent, presume people are doing their best, also show up and do your best. So don't turn up trying to hurt someone, trying to be right all the time. She says be vulnerable. So you're going to have to give a bit to get a bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've sort of got to be able to express your own emotions if you want someone else to do that for you, with you.
And I think one of the other challenging things about that, when you're having a really downtime and someone asks how you're going and you actually open up as to how you're feeling and what you're going through and what you're experiencing at that time, it's probably really important, even though you're going through a lot, it's always important to actually return that question and say, and how are you going? Because quite often, if you have a very supportive person in your life, you become so used to having them listen to you and all your problems and everything else. And it's very easy to slip your mind that hey, they might have stuff going on and they don't want to dump it on me because they know I'm going through a lot. So it's very two-way, I suppose.
They need a hand too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
No, I agree. And it's funny you should mention that, Ros, because Dane and I unpacked this after the meeting last night. People say that, like, when you got depression, I've never had depression, so I don't know. I've only had anxiety. I couldn't hide it. No way I could hide that anxiety.
A lot of people hide their depression,
right,
in a lot of ways. I can't handle. I find it very hard. I think you have. I personally, I physically react to my anxiety. Like I have a physical
reaction.
My body actually
visceral
reacts to anxiety. But I think that a lot of people. Well, look at Robin Williams.
Everyone uses that as an example.
Well, I think it's a good example because he was a comedian and he was such a funny person. And on the outside, he cracked jokes and made so many people laugh. But he was obviously hiding it because. It was completely unexpected what he did.
Suffering,
Yeah. And a lot of people, I think, you hear that a lot of people who are very depressed use humour to mask what they're actually going through.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I think.
So you got to break through that, right?
I think a lot of people who are depressed, you find coping mechanisms, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
I've had people who've suffered depression in my life and been on medication for it.
Right.
And it's not a stereotypical sit on the couch, don't get out of your pajamas, don't eat, don't talk to anyone. Right. I don't think it's always the case that's, how depression will manifest.
Right.
I think, I've known people who have been the funniest, most jovial, incredible people, and, they've ended up
struggling the most.
Really struggling.
I get that.
And you don't realise they're going through this fight inside them all the time.
And with suicidal thoughts. So let's touch on this topic of, hey, Darby, how do we actually communicate with influence? So let's say, for example, Ros, so you're a saleswoman. What are the secrets to effective selling? And I don't mean just closing the deal. I mean actually communicating in such a way so that you do relationship selling. What is it for you?
Actually,
after 15 years,
experiencing this at the moment, there's a lot of people hearing about the movement of certain projects in the region, and the QAL upgrade, and $600 million QAL upgrade, which apparently won't fix a whole lot out there, but it'll be a start. But I've got a lot of people that I've kept in touch with over the years contacting me and just saying, what's happening, and is it a good time to sell, and is it, and I'm not a person who wants the listing at any cost. I'm very honest with people, and I had a lady ring this, this week, and she said to me, we've got this tenant in place, we've kept the house because it was always our hope that we would come back, but it's kind of just like, I'm sick of worrying about it, we should just get rid of it. And I said to her, look, with the way things are going, you've got a good tenant in place. I really would hang on to it for 6 months. Right. And I genuinely think they will do better in 6 months' time. Right. And she said, well, when I talk to other agents and they say, no, the market's still falling, you should sell it now. And I said, well, I've actually got data here to show that the market's not still falling. And, we've had a median sale price has been stabilised for 6 months. And I said, there are projects and things happening around the region that are making it a lot more positive. And I personally, if it was me, I would be keeping it. It's not the same for some people are putting their houses on the market now because they're moving away and all of that. So it's a different conversation. Yeah.
So it's probably more honest. So you're probably honest with it, not just. So it's probably got a little bit to do with her.
Well, I also think it's you've got to listen to, what is she actually saying? She's saying, I'd really like to keep it because we're hoping we can move back there one day. We're just stressed because obviously rates have just arrived. You know, they've had to make a decision about continuing the tenant's lease on. So I've actually listened to, and I asked her prompting questions, obviously. So what's your concern? She's answered those, and then my response is based on meeting her needs and reassuring her, I guess.
Yeah, go. So ask questions, focus on her, right, and focus on what she needs, and I think out of all of that, there's an honesty. Sorry, mate. Just drag it all this way if you need to. Thanks, Ros.
We're live on
That's
Facebook.
all right. Just drag it this way. Drag it this way.
Yeah, you're right.
No. So there's an honesty element to it. So ask questions, focus on her, be honest with her. Don't bullshit to make a sale. Which don't worry, there's plenty of people that do that.
Also give choices, because you can say, look,
Give
if
her
ultimately, options definitely. If you want to sell it now, I can let you know what it's worth. I can help you with that process. But in my opinion, it would be best if you don't have to sell right now to wait for another 6 months and just review it then.
Even though you'd love the listing.
Oh, absolutely.
See, isn't that amazing?
Absolutely, and I've always been like that.
That is an example of relationship selling.
It's not about the business today, and I've always said that. It's not about the business today.
Guess where she'll come back?
It's about the relationship. If you build the relationship and you're honest and you are a solution to people's problems,
holy crap,
then the business will come regardless. So, cheers. And that's where I just say it's not about the business today. You don't go out and say to everyone that you meet, will you list your house with me? Will you list your house with me?
How are you?
Yeah, you start a conversation, and then the most asked question when I'm out socially is, so how's the market? How's the market going? And I just talk to people about, what we've come out of, and, you've ridden the worst for the last 6 years. Now that it's stabilised, why would you,
Why'd you sell too soon?
Yeah, well, why would you, without looking at all your options, and I don't tell them what to do, I give them the options, and I say, this is what your options are, and ultimately, if you want to sell it, I'm more than happy to tell you what it's worth and give you some marketing options, and
Gary Jack.
Hi, Gary. Donna said, when someone asks me for advice, I ask for their permission to be real with them and end with, but at the end of the day, it's still your decision, and it's up to you to choose what your priorities are. That is so true, Donna. And I had that conversation with a client this week.
Before Gary Jack goes off, can I just butt in? Gary, would you like to come on with us one time? We'd love to have you, bro. We'd love to hear from you.
We would love to.
Anyway,
let us know. No, that's okay. I was just saying about Donna's comment. I had a client send me a video this week. We're doing some promotional stuff, and he asked my opinion, and I watched it, and it was great. But I said to him, I just don't think you're getting. I said, you want me to be totally honest, don't you? And he said, of course I do. So I just was totally honest. It's great, but I don't think you're actually getting the message across that you told me you wanted to get across. So when you are honest and you ask permission to be, do you want the sugar-coated version, or
or do you want the real deal?
Yeah, and I just think, if people genuinely want to hear that, then they'll take it on board.
That's right.
If you're nice about it. But like Donna said, at the end of the day, it is their decision, and you have to say, look, if ultimately you would like to sell it or you would like whatever, I can help you with that.
Yep.
But, I've at least given you the information. I always offer to send them information to back up what I've said,
Good on you.
whether it be media releases or whatever. So, and you would get the same in your line of work.
Well, I just got a question. Someone rang me just before we got on here and said, can you help me with a team member issue? And I get that all the time. How do I deal with this in my team? Or how do I deal with this from my leader? My leader sucks.
Jeff and
Mark
Craig.
Carthel.
Hi.
Mark's thinking about coming down in October.
Oh, cool.
Thinking.
Great.
It would be great to have Cup there, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
wouldn't that be great?
It would.
Man, you would add so much value, bro. Come down.
Yeah, God, it'd be a great group of people.
Wouldn't it be good? Jeff Williams, Craig Ross.
So you have, you've obviously, you would have those similar sorts of situations where you sometimes don't know how honest to be with people, but
You've got to.
they're asking you because they want your honest opinion,
That's right.
and you've got to be careful about the delivery. So,
of course.
because you'd be in some pretty volatile situations when you're dealing with team members and how to deal with it. When you have you ever had to say to a boss, I think you need to sack that person?
Yes, culture change always comes with some collateral damage. Here's the thing.
Tell me.
The leaders aren't always willing or able to make that decision.
And I was just thinking that. Are you part of their permission? If they think I trust Guins's judgment, if you can...
There's this stuff called workplace health and the work law fair discrimination.
Oh, yeah.
So you sort of got to...
And if they go through that process, though, with the warning letters and all that, but if you can reassure them that the vibes they're getting or the decision they're making is good is the best decision.
Absolutely. I'll put that hand on heart.
Because I know you wouldn't willy-nilly just go around telling people to sack somebody, but...
Never. Do you know, every team in turmoil that I've ever dealt with, bar none, there's only ever one person in the team that causes the grief. Most I've ever seen is there's two people. It's only ever one person. So the challenge is and the problem for the leader is that's where all his or her energy goes, into that one person. So you either get them on board, or get them to another part of the business where they might thrive and shine, which is cool, or get them out of the business. Seriously. I always start with, and don't worry, I get asked all the time, can that person change? They've been like this, Anton, for 50 years of their life. Do you really think you can change this person? And my answer is always, absolutely. It just means that we haven't connected with them enough yet on what their needs are. And guess what? We might never. As a leader, we might never ever. And so, as a transformational leader, is it about recognition? Is it about robust conversations? Here's one, this is my favourite one. When you communicate, Ros, let's talk about influence. Communicate to connect, not to direct. Connection, not direction. When you're giving direction all the time, it's about me, not we. So if I can give you just some words, some influence words, is that okay? So the first, Shannon Green's on, hello.
Oh, hey, Shannon. Hey, Lorraine.
And Lorraine Bentley, hello, we're back. Lorraine texts me on a Friday if we're not on.
I know, she misses us when we're not here.
So the word we is so powerful. It's, if someone's got a problem, what are we going to do about it? How do we address it? Now, if you scroll up there, and we won't, to Donna's thing, Donna goes, blah, 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 comma, but, and even you said it. You said, thanks for your video, man, and it's a really great video, but, which means that it's a shit video. So you might as well just say to him, man, your video hasn't hit the mark. Is it okay if I share that with you? Because when you say to him, that's a good video, but he actually hears that's a shit video because your brain's wired.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's just that I actually said to him, there's some really good elements, but the context of the message you're trying to get across is not what you told me you wanted to get across. And you know what? He actually emailed me later.
He said thank you.
No, he actually emailed me and he said, I'm sorry I got a bit grumpy. I've re-watched it and I totally agree with you. So, it's sort of like, okay, sometimes it's hard to hear it, but if you're asking me for my opinion and I've asked your permission to be honest, and I've been honest, sometimes people throw it back at you and they don't forgive you and they say,
you're the biggest asshole in the world, even though they've asked for it.
Exactly.
And that's why we say transformational leadership is about the gift of feedback. And it starts with recognition. As a leader, as an individual, as a human being, as a parent, as a peer, as a friend, you've never earned the right to give someone opportunity feedback if you haven't recognised their good stuff over time.
Which is why I started with, there's some really good elements.
That's right.
But
well, instead of the but, it's pretty easy to say and. And if I was doing
sorry, I
it,
kicked my toe. It's a really good video. No, what did I say? There's some really good content, but it's no, and it's a shit video. No, what do I say?
You said it's a really good video, but
I don't say but. Okay.
It's a really good video, and
I think we could improve on such and such.
If you're really trying to get that message across, I just wonder whether you. If it was me, you didn't hit me in the heart, bro.
Yes.
You didn't give me that thing that you were trying to hit me with. I wish you did, and I wish I felt
That's
it.
probably a better way to put it, because when you say to somebody, you want me to be honest, hey? Right? You want me to be honest?
That's a shit thing to say.
No, I know, because if somebody comes back here and say, well, no, I want you to lie to me
That's
so
right.
that I feel better about myself.
So this is all about wording and speaking with influence. And
Yeah,
you want me to
that's
be
true.
honest. What that's actually code for is it okay if I be an arsehole? That's what it's code for. Is it okay if I'm an arsehole?
But you shouldn't have, if you're talking to the right people, you're right. If you're talking to the right people, you shouldn't have to preempt the conversation by saying you want me to be honest, because I believe if they're asking for your opinion and they value that opinion, you shouldn't have to say you want me to be honest. They're expecting you to be honest. Hey.
Here's another thing. Lisa Smith, how are you, girl? She's out at Uluru or something.
Oh, hey, Lisa. Oh,
Jack's,
look at her.
Jack's mum.
She is. Look at her profile.
Jacko's mum.
Oh, young Jack.
Yeah, young Jacko.
Troy, champion.
Champion.
So out there, wouldn't it?
Oh, I reckon.
Look at old mate in the background here.
Oh no, he's a big.
We're framing him.
Oh no, he's a big.
I wonder if he knows he's on.
I think he does. He keeps sort of
looking
glancing
at
over.
me.
That's right.
That's why why he sat
Butchie,
there.
we got
another. We got
Butches
both the Butchie brothers today.
So here's the thing. When you're talking to people, and we can use the word "and" because again, that's an inclusive word. So what I want you to think about is inclusiveness, right? We're
so
all in this
and
together.
Instead of but.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
If you do nothing else for us out of today, if you change that, you'll change the communication, you'll change the results.
Speaking with influence.
Speaking with influence.
Okay.
Now, part of speaking with influence is speaking with emotion. Remember I said to you, if I was going to communicate with that guy, I would say, mate, great work. I can see you put a lot of time into it, and it hasn't connected with me. I don't feel it, bro. I don't feel ecstatic when I see that. I don't feel like I'm going to go and buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I use emotional words.
Okay.
Because if you really break it down, we're only emotions and skin. We're emotions and skin. That's what we are. We're walking around having this human experience as physical beings. We're really not. We're just emotions. The quality of our life is determined by the quality of the emotions you experience right now.
Very true.
In the moment, right? So poor old depressed people or poor old anxious people, that's an emotional state. I feel sorry for them because they're having a shitty time. I've been there. I've had 100 days of anxiety and I just know what it feels like. So talk about, it's okay to talk about how you feel. Males out there too.
Oh, definitely.
Even though I have a theory on it, that I don't believe males are not good at expressing their emotions. I believe males are not good at listening to other males express their emotions.
That's a good theory.
Will you imagine if every male was a good listener? We wouldn't have to go to females to listen to us.
That's true.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, there could be some truth to that.
Sleep on that.
And I think maybe maybe some men are not as good at picking up on the cues. So it might not be that they aren't good listeners. They're just not picking up when somebody, the ads I've got on at the moment, and there's some really good ads for anxiety and depression on at the moment. And if someone even says something very small, that is a prompt
Trigger.
to say, oh mate, I'm really sorry about that. I'm happy if you do want to talk about it. I think it's more probably that than them not listening. It's they're not picking up on the triggers and the signals and the signs,
And in suicide training speak, they call it an invitation.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. I guess is it's because guys aren't going to come up and say, "Oh my God, mate, I'm
feel like
feeling
shit."
so depressed.
That's right.
I really need some help. I need to talk to you." You might do that because you're a bit more of an emotional guy, but most guys I don't think would do that. But
think you're
if
right.
there's just a really tiny little signs are invitations.
Communication's
and
an
I
invitation.
just think it's more that it's not because you talk to most men and they're just as devastated if a mate commits suicide or their brother or whoever. But and if they had their time over again, they would probably notice more things. But I think it's perhaps and hopefully with all the awareness campaigns and all of that, hopefully with time we'll all get better at picking up on those things. But I think maybe guys just aren't as good at because women tend to talk a bit more in depth to their girlfriends, one-on-one or in groups. Guys might just say one little thing or act one little way or do one little thing. But it's not necessarily something that's easy to sign. It's an invitation, but it's not necessarily well received or received at all.
Well, it's not overt. It's probably more covert. They're actually giving you an opportunity to support them. But as males, we don't pick up on it.
And it could be something as simple as a guy who's on time, early for work every single day, and like clockwork for 10 years, he's been coming into the office, and
Something changes.
and then all of a sudden he comes in late, or he might be really talkative and chatty in the office, and then all of a sudden he's very, very quiet for days on end. They can be invitations. It doesn't have to be something they actually say. And this is women as well, I think, too. But I think, it's probably more a case of men probably might not be so good at picking up as that as a sign or an invitation.
No, I'm with you.
No,
I agree.
And like you said, anxiety is a bit different. I mean, you can have a lot of anxiety in your head, but I find with my anxiety, I tend to... my heart races and I sweat and I actually physically feel like I'm going to pass out. Like I actually feel a physical, I feel nauseous.
Get lightheaded.
And there's some really good, the campaign that's on at the moment, the guy's sitting in the office and he's talking to himself about, the job,
I'm running late, and it gets louder and louder.
No, the woman comes into the office because he's trying to convince himself that the boss has organised the meeting with him because he's going to get the sack, and in his head he's hearing you're useless and you're not good at your job and you're not, and then she comes in and actually starts talking to him about a promotion. So that's what anxiety is like. It's your mind telling you
that there's something
the wrong thing and actually worrying about stuff that's not even there.
Which is actually fear. Anxiety is fear of the future. And so
you said that before.
Fear of the future, and I've only worked that out because I had to through the School of Hard Knocks. I don't know what the science or the literature on that is. I should Google it one day and study it. But just back to speaking with influence, I think your languaging is so important and choosing your words carefully. When you're public speaking, every word needs to earn its place in your sentence.
Wow.
Every word's got to earn its place. Because you got it now. Like I'm speaking, and I showed you my prezzo for next week. So I'm off to CQU next week. I speak to all the heads of something. They got some thing going on. I should know. I should read up on that before I go, which I will. Definitely. CQU if you listen. I've done the prezzo week out. That's always good.
Lucy and Brett have joined us, and Donna just said if I sense they need to talk, I shift so that I'm not in a confrontational spot, sitting beside it to the side, looking in the same direction.
Body language is so important.
Yeah,
so from leader speak, what we say is we sit beside, not across, right? What was it?
You were talking about your influence.
Oh, yeah. So when you're speaking, I've got half an hour next week. I've got half an hour to speak to a group, and I've got to allow 5 minutes of all of that for them to talk to me because they'll want to share their
You're never going to do it. I'm sorry. When you told me that before, I'm like, you speak in half an hour?
I know. I said to Alison.
I just saw the quickest slideshow on the planet. It's like
6 slides.
What are you going to talk for?
Half an hour. And Alison said, she said, you're not even going to get through your intro story before that. Like, I'll be done before the half an hour's up.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to do it.
So every word's got to earn its place in every sentence. You've got to be so...
Yeah.
Now, the only way you get to the point where you can think that fast and talk slow, but you do that. It's prep. So I've gone over that 100 times, and I just gave you the 10-minute version, the 5-minute version. So I know exactly what I'm going to say when.
Well, that's why when you were going through it, and I'm thinking, oh, this is really good, and then it was over, and I was like, but it was almost like just a teaser, 10-minute teaser to say what else have I missed out on? I want to hear more of this. But I guess the trick with that, with being, and when we were talking about speaking and getting your message across, just because they shorten it to say you've only got half an hour, doesn't mean you jam as much in and talk really fast.
No.
You still got to get, like you said, every word's got to still have that meaning. So you have to be clear and concise about what message you want to get across in that time frame, and not waffle with, adding too much or talking too fast just to get more in. And how do you stay conscious of the time?
Oh,
how do you?
Okay,
That's interesting.
There's two parts to what you just said then. Presenting is actually not about what you put into your preso. You think, seriously, how much knowledge is out there in the universe? Yeah. So I'm going to speak on recognition. How much stuff is out there about recognition?
Lots. More than half an hour.
So it's not about what you put in. It's actually about
what you leave out.
So it's got to fight for its spot in your preso.
Like that.
It has to. And you've got to be so committed to meeting the needs of the client. So I rang them. I said, what do you want to get out of it? They said, we want to know this, that. I said, great. So there's my three key messages. So then I actually went and built a model around leadership, and we've done some surveying. So hopefully they'll think I'm smart.
Well, you better look smart. You're going to be at a university.
That's why I thought I better do something like research or something. And so
you've got to have the goods to back it up, don't you?
Apparently.
What about when people ask you questions and stuff? Like, do you have to say, can we leave questions till end so I can milk every second of my half hour?
No. Well, it depends whether I know the answer or not.
Yeah, but what if you get off topic? Like, what if they...
you do all the time.
So how are you going to fit it in to half an hour? You've got to keep pulling back.
Flow, baby. Flow, baby.
Keep pulling it back.
Yeah, pull it back. And the other thing is, you asked me this really specific question. So they said, we know half an hour's not a lot of time. Hello, Rebecca Scarborough. And I said, I know. I'll get my intro slide done by then. They said, look, you can go over if you want. There's a 15-minute thing after it, and if we don't have that thing. And she got quite offended. She was offended because I said, excuse me, I do not go over time.
Oh.
I said, all right. And
she better not now.
Oh, girl. I said, when I get that, I said, I'll ask you this very specific question. What minute do you want me to finish?
Oh my God, really? You're that specific?
To the minute.
Wow.
I shit you not. To the minute. I commit. Well, I'm not valuing their time. They say you can have an extra 15. That's shit.
So?
Who's managing their schedule? That's terrible to say that to a speaker.
Well, it is. Yeah, that's interesting that they would just say, the 15-minute thing we had after that isn't really, that important. So,
I know.
Yeah.
You got an agenda? Have you got an agenda?
No, Mark, there's Vici.
Oh, Vici's on, is he? Hey, mate.
So, in half an hour, how much do you truly believe, how much value do you believe that you can give people in a half-hour period?
Heaps. If you do the why, not the how. So they want to know about recognition.
Yeah.
They want to know how to build a recognition culture. Now, the world is...
He is sick, Mark. He sounds
I am
fluey.
cooked, bro, yeah. So I think, Vici's the only well one out of all the boys at the moment.
Wow, it's going round.
So the thing about it is that, what question did you ask me?
How much value can people get out of a half an hour?
So I could go and say these are the top 5 or 7 or 3 things that you do to give more recognition. Is that value? I don't know. They might be. The world is built on. Go and Google the 3 tips too, or the 5 tips too. The doing is not what changes behaviour. It's the feeling behind it. It's the why. I'm going to do that talk and try and convince people to recognise each other. Doing it's easy. It's getting yourself to the point where it becomes a priority. So when we can do that, we know we've changed hearts and minds. That's why I'm going to Rocky on Tuesday. I'm not going up there a Thursday, coming whatever day it was. I'm not going there to tell them how to recognise. I'm going up there to tell them why it's important to recognise. That was our first slide. Not recognising people as a form of oppression, according to Charles Taylor, who's a philosopher.
Yeah.
So, does that make sense?
It does. And from that, if you have a really long presentation, say someone said, we want you to come and talk for 2 hours on XYZ, okay?
Presenting.
With your knowledge and history of public speaking, how much, you know how you go to those conferences and you get to the point where you start yawning and you start losing interest and you shuffle in your chair and people start playing with their pens and
you got to manage your energy.
So
Stories.
What's the how much time can the human brain stay focused on something like a presentation? So what's your ideal length of time that you wouldn't want to go over because you know people are going to start to wane and lose interest?
Great call. So if we were training, 1.5 to 2 hours, I always give people a break. So you have 3 or 4 of those sessions for the day. So here's the deal. If I'm doing speaking work, it's under an hour.
Okay.
So next week I'm doing speaking work, which is a very, very different process to if I was doing presenting work.
Okay.
Presenting work is 0 to 4 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Different process. Training work, therefore, is 0 to 8 hours or more. So
and with breaks in between, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So never go for more than 1.5 to 2 hours. You know what though? If you had to, and if your topic was the right topic, you know, Tony Robbins doesn't give you a break and you go from 9 till 11 at night. You know.
Wow.
So you can manage energy.
He would do interaction stuff throughout, wouldn't he? So you get out of your chair and yeah.
So there's 3 things: energy, engagement, and entertainment. To be energetic, you can't run out of puff though, because you know if you burn yourself out as a presenter, you'll be gone in half an hour, an hour. Especially if you're an introvert.
Yeah.
So you got to know yourself before you get up there. So you got to manage your own energy. Then you got to manage the energy of the group.
I was going to say, if you don't have that control over how they're feeling as well, you could have them lose interest. Absolutely. And you're up there talking to yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you've got to have that interaction or
connection.
Know that they're still listening and know that they're still feeling energetic about it. So
and how do you do that, Ira?
I don't know. That was going to be my next question, actually.
You're only ever talking to one person.
Mm-hmm.
Only ever talking to one person. There might be 30 in the room, 100 in the room, or 5,000 in the room. You're only ever talking to one person. So you're eyeballing, left eye, one particular individual and at a time. So this person, I'll be talking to that person, depending on the point that we're making.
Yeah.
And thank you. Oh, good on you, love. Tish, you're good.
Oh,
you were here
thank
last
you.
night. So you're back already. So it's only a conversation. Public speaking's only a discussion. Yeah. And talking about the energy, you know, if people start doing that, agreeing with you,
nodding,
you know you've lost it.
The yawning and dozing off.
That's right.
So we're nearly finished for time, and we've got to wrap up. I've got to wrap up and see my son. But just very quickly, what is your opinion of the very old wives' tale?
I love it.
When they say,
love it.
Don't be scared to get up and talk in front of a crowd. Just imagine them all naked.
I've never tried it.
So you've never had to?
I've never tried imagining people naked.
You've always been fine.
Oh no, I haven't always been fine. I shit myself every time. And I'll shit myself on Tuesday again too. Before
but people say that all the time.
I'm done. I know.
People say that all the time. And we talked about this before. Just lastly, though, what's the old Jerry Seinfeld stand-up comedian bit about public speaking? When he said they surveyed Americans, and most people are actually more afraid of public speaking than death. Yeah. So he said at a funeral, most people would rather be in the coffin than doing the eulogy.
That's right. And it's
so
true.
You can get better at public speaking, and he's your man. So Anton, running this retreat in October to help with getting better at public speaking. I'm looking forward to it very much, and thank you for today. It was
And,
wonderful, and
we'll
if
unpack
you want to
like
do
that.
any one-on-one stuff with
Oh,
Anton with
amazing.
his training too, he is exceptionally good, and I am very happy to be a client of the Guinea Group. And I
to have
hope
you.
everyone has a fabulous week.
Thank you.
We are wrapping up. You've got to go. You at dinner or something?
No,
on
I've
heavy?
got the walk with the man walk at
Oh,
5 o'clock.
Oh, you better go to that. So look after yourselves, everyone. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will.
Communicate with
Yes, with influence. Communicate with influence. We'll
Thanks,
see you
Dan.
next week.
Very
Bye.
good. Oh, that's